Hey, this is Mark from Bear Mace, and you're listening to the Dan Chan Show.
I've got Mark, guitarist from Bear Mace, with me. How you doing, mate?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Where in the world are you? You're in Illinois. You're in one of my favorite places, Chicago, right? How near to downtown are you?
I'm not that close to downtown. I'm maybe 20, 30 minutes drive away from there. Um, but yeah, this is we're in Chicago proper. Most of the band is actually living not too far from me. So yeah, we're very much a Chicago band.
I was gonna say, so that's where you're all from. So you're all quite congregated near each other.
Yeah, a couple of us are a little further out into the suburbs of the city, but yeah, we're basically Chicago born and bred.
Best pizza in the world?
Absolutely.
No doubt. Chicago town. We love it, man. We love it. Well, first off, mate, I want to congratulate you on probably that potentially could be, we're 6 months in, approaching the seventh month, one of the albums of the year. Seriously. No shit. I mean, the new album is called Slaves of the Wolf. It's been out a few weeks now. Honestly, it's an awesome album. How's the reaction been, from your point of view?
Thank you very much, man. The reaction's been great so far. We've been hearing from some of the fans online and seeing the reviews roll in. It seems like people are responding really well to it, and that's gratifying to hear because we put a lot of work into it ourselves, and we're kind of hoping that people would respond to it that way. So it's great to hear.
Has it been in the can long? Have you had it ready for launch for quite a while and release, or has it been quite fresh?
We've been sitting on it for a little while, unfortunately. We were hoping to have it out last year. It's been recorded and written and everything, basically complete for about a year. And we were hoping to have it out sooner, but we had some business dealings to resolve first. Nothing bad, just things to sort out, record label stuff. So there's a bit of a delay, but what's interesting with that is that, like we were saying before the call started about how the global situation, maybe the socio-political situation is completely different than it was 12 months ago.
Yeah.
The record actually is maybe more resonant now.
Yeah. Well, okay.
As
Well,
far
let's.
as
I'm going to bump a question here because what you're writing about on the album, because obviously you just said it, but what are the themes going through it?
um I wish our vocalist Chris was on the call because he writes most of the lyrics. I pitched in a little bit with that. There's a little bit of everything, man. I mean, we've always had war lyrics, it's been war themed death metal kind of since the start. So we got a couple war songs. There's a couple songs about more, I guess, social situations. Like there's a song we did called Worthless Lives, which is kind of about, people, younger people, especially today, feeling like maybe there's not much of a future ahead of them, you know, just working for low wages until you're dead, basically.
Mm.
Uplifting stuff on this record.
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Um,
course. Of course. That's what we want, right? We
yeah.
need, we need that.
Uh, we did a track called Cancerous Winds on the record, which is
Yeah.
about windmills, which I don't know if this made the news where you're at, but certain individuals in the United States have had theories that windmills can cause cancer and make you
Yeah.
very sick.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And it's totally legitimate science. So yeah, so that's on the record. It's I wouldn't say there's like any concept behind it,
Sure.
but there's it's tense times we're living in, and a lot of the lyrics are kind of pertaining to that.
It's palpable, man. I mean, obviously, Trump is in the news headlines, the news worldwide, lately. I mean, that must be, is this fueling? Because obviously, if this album is a year old for you, but fresh for us, does that mean you're pumping new material out in your head for the next album, but thinking more about the times right now?
We've been writing a little bit. I write a lot of the music in the band, and I always have kind of a stockpile of riffs. So there's a few ideas. There's not really a lot of lyrics yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, they'll come.
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get an instrumental record, and that'll suck. Um, but no, everything we do is kind of informed by history, but also kind of informed by current events. You know,
Yeah.
there's a like I said, there's the military angle, and you know, a lot of the battles written about in our songs are historical. You know, Chris is a
Mm.
big war buff, military buff as far as that stuff. So whatever we do next, I'd imagine there'll be some more of that and some more topical
Yeah.
subjects as well.
Now, this is your third album. So how do you feel you're evolving through these studio efforts? You know, how are you evolving since your when was your first album? Because was it the last album was that during COVID, the last album, wasn't it? It's a COVID release. Is that
That
right?
was like right at the beginning.
Beginning of COVID, yeah.
Yeah, it was 20.
So, you know, which obviously was pain for everyone, but it gives more people the chance to listen to your music. But, you know, a bad time for touring and stuff like that. So, how do you feel like you're evolving through your records?
We've kind of made a conscious effort not to really evolve at
Okay, good,
all.
good, good, good.
We've, you know, not nothing against that, but you know,
Yeah, but I don't mean
we
like your
were
sound because obviously you got your old school death metal feeling, but how do you feel like you may be even like writing differently or thinking differently towards you know creating and producing?
that's where the growth happens. You know, we have an established, not an, I don't want to say an established sound, but there's always a goal. There's always a set of influences,
Yeah,
and each record is another opportunity to do it better. You know, can we write cooler 1991 riffs? Can we write meaner lyrics? Can we get the guitars to sound better? Can we make the drums sound bigger? Can we do a better album cover? Can the production be better? You know, it's more of a refinement, you know, 3 albums in. Like we were really happy with how the last record, Charred Fields of Slaughter, turned out. You know, we were very proud of that one, and it was like, well, how do we top that? And so that was really what we were working for this time, working towards, just trying to make something more focused and a little more refined to make sure we got our point across this time.
sure.
And I I think I think we achieved that.
It feels like that. It feels that way from our perspective, from the listener. Now, how do you approach the writing and recording for these, these awesome, like old school death sounds? How do you approach that?
We all have a pretty broad vocabulary in old school death metal, especially like the Tampa sound, you know, bands like Death and Massacre and Deicide and that era, that sound.
Yeah,
Um, so when we write, you know, and we're all in other bands too that play other styles of music, so that makes it easier when we kind of get together to do Bear Mace stuff to focus on what that's supposed
mm,
to sound like. You know, no one needs to bring in acoustic stuff. No one's bringing in black metal. No one's bringing in prog rock. You know, we have other outlets for that.
mm.
And this band is just hyper focused on this sound that we've kind of arrived at, you know, this darker, more echoey version of Tampa OSDM. So, and as time goes on, I think we become more and more uh accurate at writing riffs that work in that kind of situation.
Are you always writing riffs? I can see like a bank of guitars behind you. Do you actually have to get into a place to like write riffs and stuff like that and get creative, or does it have to be more is it more sporadic? Like when you're on the highway trying to drive home or something?
I was gonna say it could happen either way. Like I try to play guitar every day, and I don't practice guitar anymore to like be a better player. Like I've definitely that's plateaued. That ship has sailed. But
Yeah.
I always try to play guitar so I can write something. But a lot of this stuff comes out when I'm not even holding a guitar. You know, I could be sitting at a stoplight. I just hum them into my phone, man. You know,
Yeah,
just
man, I've said that. I said that to so many people. Like, you wake up in the night, you gotta hum something in your phone. But you do that as well.
yeah, absolutely. Otherwise I'll forget it, you know.
Awesome.
And that goes for riffs, that goes for vocal ideas. I got notes in my phone of lyric ideas for both my bands, not just Mace.
Yeah.
But
Who's your other
you know,
band?
I'm always
What's your other band?
coming up with something. I'm in another band called Black Sites,
Black Sites. That's it. Yeah.
which is more of a like progressive, I guess, more traditional metal band,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, between the two, I'm always coming up with something. You know, I have just stockpiles of riffs and little scraps of ideas here and there, and most of it happens when I'm not holding a guitar at all,
Exactly. So,
which is
so
kind of
let me think this as a non-guitar player. Do you ever sit down with your guitar and go, "Nah, I can't do it today. There's nothing coming out."
Oh, that happens. Happens a lot.
Like, no, it's not going to happen. Can't happen today.
I mean, if you think about it, an album, most metal albums is what, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, you know? If you wrote something every single time you picked up a guitar every day, that'd be way too much to
Yeah, too
comb
much
through.
material. Yeah, sure.
Too much
Sure.
material. Realistically, if you make an album every 2 years, you need to come up with 50 minutes of music every 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not different.
That's all right. You can, I'm sure you can manage that, mate. Now, I've got to move on because you've got the legend Cam Lee on the track. I've had him on the show before. Great guy. He's actually performing on Captured and Consumed. Tell me how that happened. What a great guy. Massacre, awesome band. Tell me about that.
So we opened for them a couple of times here in Chicago. They came through when they first reunited
Yeah.
and came through again later when Cam got the new lineup. But we got to know him a little bit at those shows. You know, all the guys we were talking to them, super, super cool dudes in that band,
Yeah.
both lineups. And the last time we played a show with them, I woke up the next day and we got a message from Cam on Messenger because I guess he had gone to the airport to fly back home and was sitting listening to our record at the airport. And he's like, dude, this is killer. And you know, he and I got to talking and he just he put it out there. He's like, hey, if you ever want a guest vocal, which yes, we do. So it was his idea, and that was such a cool thing to have happen because I mean, for this band, that's such a full circle moment. We wouldn't exist without, you know, From Beyond
Mm.
and obviously his involvement with Mantis, which became Death. He's he's like ground
Lovely.
zero of death metal. That
Of
whole
course.
genre, he was there at the start of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so to have him, you know, basically do a duet with Chris on the record, and it
That's
sounded
awesome.
awesome too.
Awesome. It does. It
Yeah.
does indeed. Now, do you ever write with the listener in mind, or do you write not don't mean this, but selfishly? Do you write knowing that the guy's going to love this, or is it more like no, 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 it's like this is for us?
Um, it's both, I guess. I don't see myself as being that different from our listeners. I mean, I like that kind of
Of
music too.
course,
That's
of
kind of the whole
course,
point.
yeah, of course. But okay, okay, I'm
But
gonna
I think of
go on, Karen.
sorry, I was gonna say, I mean, we've been playing shows now for 7, 8 years, I think. So I have a pretty good picture of you know our audience and what happens at our shows and what kind of songs and parts of songs that those people gravitate towards.
Mm,
You know, like I remember when writing Captured and Consumed, even before it had lyrics or before Cam was involved, just having the riff, I remember thinking like, shit, these guys are gonna
mm,
gonna dig this.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Um, so
Now,
yeah, it's both.
ideally, how would you like, as a songwriter and in, you know, creating what you do, how would you like the listener to ideally listen to your music? Would it be like sat there with a beer, having a barbecue, like walking somewhere in the gym? You know, what's the ideal situation where you think, listen, I want someone to listen to our album? How would you want that to be?
Wow, I'd never really thought about that before. I think we're good for barbecues. We found that
Yeah,
out.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, we did a record release party a couple weeks back that was a barbecue. So that
Really?
you know, if you know, having a band called Bear Mace and people are just eating tons of meat, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sausages and you know, it goes together well.
Awesome.
Um, I don't know. I feel like my experience with music, especially death metal growing up, was just like sitting at home listening to it alone on headphones, you know. I didn't know anyone else who was into this stuff, so I was experiencing it, you know,
Sure.
on my own, just kind of getting really involved in the headphone experience with it. And I think our music works with that too.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, having a couple beers, like you said, or you know, driving down the highway, I weddings, you know, bar mitzvahs,
Love all that.
funerals,
Yeah, yeah, no matter
it's,
where, listen to our fucking music.
works for any occasion.
It's anywhere. Now, one thing, but last question about the album. It's the your band photo, right? You're wearing a Canon Films t-shirt, right?
I
Because
am.
that is like I just a picture like Chuck Norris films, and my whole childhood came back when I saw that picture. Man, that's fucking nostalgia right there. What made you wear that top? Because I was thrown straight back.
It was clean that day. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
right.
a big fan of the genre and canon in particular. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is probably Commando
Yeah,
with
man, mine too.
what's his
Mine's
name?
Alicia Milano. Thing is, when I fancied Alicia Milano, she was the same age as me. So I've grown up with her. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? I was like 13, she was like 13. We're the same age. But yeah, Commando was my favorite film.
That's a fantastic movie. Um, no, it just I like that shirt. I like the logo. It's very iconic, like you said. And I could have worn some other death metal shirt,
Of course.
but I'm in Bear Mace. It's people probably already know that I like death metal.
Yeah, I think
So,
so. I think so, mate. That's 100%. Now let's go back in some history, please. Tell me how the band formed. Give me a little snapshot of how that happened, why you decided on the genre, who came together, how you managed to all find each other, were you friends before, etc., and how you came on the name and everything.
wow. So the
Just
band
in a nutshell,
started.
mate. Give me a lift pitch. We don't get too crazy.
Okay, I'm not gonna bore you with the whole story, but basically, initially I was friends with Chris, our vocalist, before we had the band. I had met him at a record store here in Chicago, and he and I would see each other around. We were talking at some show. They're playing, really teched out death metal over the PA. It was like some hyper shreddy tech death band. And he looks at me and goes, I fucking hate this. Like, why? I wish someone would just make really ignorant, straight ahead, old school death metal. And I thought about it. I was like, I could do that. I was in a band at the time that was doing more, I guess, thrash, modern thrash,
Hmm.
but we were having some problems in that band. We were kind of on hiatus for a few months. So it seemed like something that could keep me occupied. So we did a demo. It was, I think, 4 or 5 songs that later ended up on the first album, just with a drum machine and, recorded in my old apartment, real basic shit. But it was pretty different from what was going on at the time. This is 2011, 2012. So this is before Gruesome existed. This is
Hmm.
before the Death to All.
Hmm.
This is before, all these Tampa sounding bands were coming out playing MDF. So I think it struck people as kind of unique at the time or maybe just novel. But we started from there.
Wow.
And as time went on and people were bugging us about playing shows, we found, we had some different people in the band early on. We got the guys we have now about 6 years ago, I think,
Right.
and it's been working out awesome ever since.
Obviously, the band name, where did that come from?
I think it's a South Park reference.
Is it Bear
I
Mace?
think
I
so.
love South Park, but I can't think of the reference. But I'll have to dig it out. Can you elaborate or you think it
I'm
is?
I'm not the South Park I'm not the South Park guy in the band, so I couldn't tell you what it was specifically. I remember we were looking for a name. We had some other idea for a name, and we couldn't use it. Someone else had it, and Chris had made some comments about Bear Mace, and I was like, dude, that's the name of the band.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Oh, I think it's
I
great.
didn't
It stands out.
thank you. I didn't think of it, but I caught it as it happened, and I was like, that should be
That's it.
the so it was a collaborative effort.
And what's the Chicago scene like? I mean, I know I've had Michael from Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Do you know Michael?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I've had
I know
Michael on
him.
the show. I met him at NAM actually. He came and said hello to us in NAM. And yeah, so what's the Chicago scene like?
Um, it's pretty close knit at this point. Everyone seems to know each other. We're all kind of in the same circles, whether we're sharing band members or rehearsing at the same places or playing shows at the same places. So it's very close knit. Everyone knows each other. Like you just named Mike out of nowhere. I was like, yeah, I know Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That says it all.
yeah, but I would say it's a very close knit scene at this point. And what's cool for us is that it's very death metal oriented now. Like
Yeah,
like I said, we have other bands too, and it's those bands do great, but in Chicago, there's much more love for the more extreme styles, whether it's death metal or like there's a lot of I would say doom slash stoner stuff going on here,
yeah.
but more towards the doom end of it.
Sure.
So from my vantage point, that seems to be more of what's happening here now. It's all great because everyone, you know,
Supports each other, right?
we're all friends. We all go way back with each other. Yes.
No. I've got to ask you this question. I ask every American I have on the show. I love you guys, but who has the best metal, US or Europe?
Oh shit, I can't answer that. I mean, it depends what kind you're talking about. My my viewpoint on that is that all the original stuff came from England.
Yeah.
You know,
Sabbath, Priest,
Santa
Zeppelin.
Priest made,
Yeah, Maiden, of course.
everything spawned from that, specifically Sabbath. Sabbath's my favorite band of all time because everything came from that.
Of course.
So, um, I mean, the US probably has more bands, but I don't know that that means quality. There's
Sure.
good bands everywhere, man. A lot of my favorite bands are from Canada or from,
Yeah.
there's great bands I've heard in South America. There's good stuff everywhere.
What are you listening to right now? Any new shit you need to share with us that you think we should be listening to, or anything that, influenced you?
What am I listening to now? Um, when I'm doing the Bear Mace stuff, I'm usually listening to old stuff. Like I've been on a big Benediction kick lately.
Mm, yeah.
I read some review that had compared some aspect of the album to Benediction, and I was like, oh, I haven't heard Benediction in forever. So because of the reviews of us, I've been going back on this deep dive listening to their old stuff.
Awesome. That's good.
Um, yeah, I'm a big prog guy, a big thrash guy. I was listening to Voivod yesterday for like 2 hours. Um, there's a newer band called Final Gasp from the East Coast who I really like. What else? There's
What's
all
your
kinds of stuff, man.
what's your I hate to use the term guilty pleasure, but what do you listen to that's kind of like not metal? Just interested.
Uh, I like all kinds of stuff outside of metal. Like just off the top of my head, I mean, I love Depeche Mode.
Class,
Um,
of course.
yeah, there's a band from here called Failure, an American band who are, I guess, alternative rock, but just really creative guitar playing, really cool stuff. I love that band. Uh, what else? I like a lot of classical guitar, flamenco guitar.
Nice.
I can't play it, but I like listening
Have
to
you
it.
heard of the band? I had them on the show a couple of weeks ago, so they're quite in my head. Impureza. They're like a flamenco death metal band. You know them?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're. It's just brilliant. It's got everything you want. If you love that kind of style, it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
that stuff mixes so well with metal if it's
It
done
does.
correctly. I mean, look at like Randy Rhoads. I mean,
Yeah,
he's right
exactly.
in that house too. I
Yeah.
love that stuff. I wish I was better at it.
Now, what's going on with the shows? What shows are you doing to back the album up? Obviously, you're doing some local shows. Tell me what's happening for the rest of the year.
Well, we are doing the official record release show a week from tomorrow here in Chicago at a club called Livewire. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to play the whole record front to back.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's a whole bunch of stuff no one's ever heard before live, stuff we've never done live. So that's going to be awesome. So we're playing Chicago next week for the release show. We are playing in Davenport, Iowa in August with a band called Pit Lord,
I
who I
know
guess are
Pit
like
Lord. I've had him on the
our,
show. I've had Pit Lord on the show.
you've had them on the show?
I love Pit
Okay,
Lord.
cool.
I did an interview with them and he was barbecuing when I was talking to him. It was so perfectly set up. It was brilliant.
That's absolutely perfect.
They're
Yeah,
fucking awesome. I love them.
yeah, yeah, cool, dude. So they invited us out to Davenport, which is where they're based. So we're playing with them in August. Uh, Beyond that, I can't get too specific about what we're doing, but we're trying
Sure.
to book some other dates.
Sure.
Even going into next year, there's
You
some
got
some
you,
plans
you got to
being
get
made.
over to Europe. We'd love you over here, man. Love you over here,
I I would love to get there. I love
man.
Europe. I've been there as a civilian and with other bands I've been in, and I would love to bring Bear Mace there. I would
Uh,
love to.
what's a Bear Mace show like?
Um, it's no frills, nothing fancy. It's just an old school death metal show. Probably not something that different from what you would have seen back in the day.
Sure.
There's no fancy light show. We're not
No, no.
playing a click track or anything. We show up, play our songs for 40 minutes, and people go nuts and do whatever they
Blood
feel
and
compelled to
sweat and
do.
tears. We love it. That's what we want.
Yeah,
That's what we want. Now,
that's
let's.
exactly the goal.
I've got to ask you this: do you prefer the studio or the stage? Which one's the best for you? Why do you play music?
I'm more of a studio guy at this point. Um, I like writing stuff, and I especially like sitting around trying to come up with new sounds and just tweaking guitar tones and getting technical like that. But that can get old after a while, just being cooped up at home fiddling around with your guitars. And I'm realizing that Bear Mace is actually way more geared towards playing live. So
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying with the band lately, especially. They've been a lot of fun the last couple of years.
Now, I've got a couple of controversial questions for you. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I guess so.
What's your most unpopular musical opinion?
My most I don't know, man. There's a lot of those. Metallica's Load,
Oh,
not
fucking
that
hell.
bad.
Not that
It's not
bad.
good.
Okay. Well,
Not that bad.
okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I said, why? Good. Tell me why. Well,
I mean, I'm
Load was better than Reload, and Load is
oh,
better than
Reload's
Sin
terrible.
Anger. So I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, they were on a decline for sure. Reload sucks, but I don't know. I think there's parts of Load where there's some pretty good lyrics going on, some cool vocal ideas, and some of the music's actually kind of doomy if you're paying attention. There's also songs out there that are just garbage, and if you
Mark,
ignore those,
how old are you, Mark?
I'm 45.
Okay, so I'm 47. So remember the Black Album. Remember when Load came out straight after that? Well, not straight after, but that anticipation when they brought that Marianne Faithful track out to
Oh
as the
God,
first single. I was like, what the fuck, man? It's like, come on, what's going on?
that was misguided.
Yeah, fucking right it was. Okay, here we go. Let's move on. Should non-metalheads wear metal t-shirts?
You know what? Yeah, and I'll tell you why. A, it's good exposure for the bands, and B, it's supporting the bands. It's bringing in money to help them. If some person wants to buy a Bear Mace shirt and they've never heard us, they're still supporting the band and they're still walking around advertising us. So I'm cool with it.
Very, very diplomatic answer. I like that a lot. What would your death row meal be? Because you have death row in the States.
Puerto
Probably
Rican
did you
food.
have death row in Illinois?
No, they
Okay,
they
you're right.
canceled
So
death row
you
in
can go
Illinois. We
out
don't
tonight
have the
and
death
murder. You'll
penalty.
be fine. You're fine, mate. But just in case you're
I
in
don't know about that.
California or somewhere else, what would it be?
I was gonna say I'd have to go with Puerto Rican food, man. My
Okay,
my wife's family is Puerto Rican, and
okay.
that stuff is fantastic
Like
when done
what? Can you
correctly.
give me an example?
Like yellow rice with beans, or like Puerto Rican fried chicken, or
Oh yeah.
steak and sauce.
Best riff ever that comes to your head right now. Go.
Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
I knew it, mate. I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say Sabbath. You mentioned it earlier. I knew that. I'm like some kind of like mind tricks guy. I've like planted the seeds. I knew you were going to come out with something like that. But that's
You
cool.
inception me.
I did. What one Bear Mace track sums the band up the best? Because I'm going to play it next.
I would go with the title track "Slaves of the Wolf" from
Yeah.
the new
Why?
one.
Great track, but why, on your opinion?
Um, I mean, you could pick any one, but I think that one kind of is a good introduction to the band and kind of sums up a number of things that we do well, which is why we put it first. So
Sure.
yeah, if people could only hear one, I would go with that. And if they don't like that one, they're
Then they
probably
need
not
to
going to
fuck
like the
off.
rest of it either. Yep.
Okay. What three words describe the band the best?
Large, uh, heavy. I know that's a really generic term,
Go on.
and and just harsh. I think we're just a harsh sounding band.
Yeah. Now, what's on the bucket list for you guys? What do you want? What would you like to achieve? How far do you want to go? What's on the agenda? In an ideal world.
In an ideal world, I would want to keep putting out more records, making good music. I think the band's working really well right now. Obviously, we will make another record, but that's on the list for sure.
Mhm.
And
Go
keep
big,
doing bigger
go
and
big,
better
Mark.
stuff.
Go big. Where do you want to go? European tour?
I'm getting there.
Yeah, get in there. Come on, build it up. Go on. Give us some more.
I'm getting there. So what we're looking towards more now is playing live and doing bigger and better shows. We want to play fests. We want to do shows with bands that are our heroes. You know, we
Mm,
played with Gruesome. We did a tour with Macabre. We played with Massacre.
yeah.
Stuff like that is, huge for us.
Mm,
So for me, the bucket list would be doing more shows like that, like just these, because that's such an experience that you can't really replace, you
of
know?
course. Of course.
And even if it sucks, 10 years later, you can say, oh, we played with such and such,
Of
or
course.
we did this fest up in, Germany or whatever. And so I just am in it for those experiences. I would like to keep doing stuff like that.
Awesome. Finally, my last question, Mark. What's your most used emoji in your phone?
So as you established earlier, I'm old, so I don't really do emojis. Probably just the thumbs up,
Just
old man
agreeing with
style.
shit. Just agree with everyone.
I'm a very agreeable person.
Listen, Mark, thank you so much for joining me tonight, mate. I really, really appreciate it. Good luck with the album. It's fucking awesome. It's going to be in my top 10 unless it gets bumped. We'll see what happens in the next 6 months. But thanks for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot.